should go back there and make sure the bastard's dead. Move, Lieutenant Baird.
There goes a record. What? I went from lieutenant to war criminal in less than a week.
As you were.
The accused are denied any right to an attorney and may not question the authority of this tribunal.
So we can't ask why you're doing this now.
At the conclusion of this tribunal, I will issue a fair and swift verdict.
Right. Of course you will.
Colonel, are we being charged with doing our job?
The charges will be defined as I hear your testimony. Now, Lieutenant Baird, begin with the last time we saw each other.
Welcome everybody, Josh here, back again today with a brand new and special product review. Today we're going to talk about this, which is Gears of War Judgment on the Xbox Series S and X backwards compatibility. This game is also available on the Xbox 360, which is when it actually originally released on. And I think that this game, while it is a great game in terms of the context of the story and fits well within the Gears of War universe and the franchise, this game is also one of those games that I do have a lot of love and hate relationships with. It's one of those games that I played just even recently where I didn't love it as much as the original Gears of War games in the franchise, but I also didn't hate this game either. It's one of those games that gives you a little bit more of what you loved about the storytelling in the first game, but also keeps it a little bit fresh and different as well. This game takes place, you are Baird, you're basically being set into a military tribunal. This game is a spin-off game, and it takes place right after the events of Gears of War 3, where you have used a light mass missile against the Locust Horde. You're being tried for the crimes that you and your team have committed. Baird is leading his own military unit, and you get to see some of the other cadets that he is leading underneath his command. Also have a part to play in this whole overarching narrative of the Locust Horde invading the planet Sarah. There's a lot of really cool and unique weapons that appear in this game. I really do like the fact this game gives you a lot of these similar weapons that you've loved from the first couple of games of the franchise, but also updating them for Gears of War Judgment. This also has a lot of new stuff that comes into play in this game as well, which is really cool to see, especially some of the newer, gnarlier weapons that you get in Gears of War Judgment, while also remaining true to what a Gears of War game is. And I think one of the really cool things about Gears of War Judgment is the fact that this game does have a little bit of a flashback scenario to it. While I don't really necessarily like the flashback thing in Gears of War, I think that this narrative is told from a perspective where it's telling what happened to Baird and his team, while also doing something new in the process, while also giving you some backstory between the characters that you know and love from the original games in the franchise. And what's really cool about this is this game also adds a little bit of a newer element to it with the different characters that do show up. A lot of really cool characters from the first games that you do love do show up, such as Cole in terms of the Aftermath DLC. There is an element of multiplayer to this as well, which I actually didn't get to play, especially during the Xbox 360 days. This is one of those games where I knew it came out. I've seen a bunch of reviews on it online. I just didn't have any intuition to play this game with my brother, who I played the original Gears of War games with in terms of the Xbox 360 era in the early 2000s. But I think that getting these games now in terms of the Gears of War Ultimate Edition, which is where I got all these games in the franchise on, Gears of War Ultimate Edition gives you the codes for the original Gears of War games, including Gears of War Judgment, and then any of the other Coalition games that buy separately, which they definitely did. And so getting to play this game for free, which is something that I thought was pretty cool for purchasing Ultimate Edition, was something that I felt I needed to do as a Gears of War fan, because I'd never experienced this story before. I'd never gone through the mission campaign. And what's really cool is the fact that there's a giant overarching war going on in the military tribunal that's happening while Baird wants to fight in that war, but instead he's stuck there, kind of like Marcus Phoenix and Dom Santiago's characters in the first three games, where they really don't necessarily want to be there, but they have to fight and save humanity. And Baird is one of those characters that really does want to fight and save humanity at all costs. That's his only goal in terms of the context of this story. And one of the things I really don't like about this game is the heavily focused tower defense missions. Now, this game does feel like you're guarding a lot of these objectives and fighting off waves and waves of locusts, locust horde mode in Gears of War, put into the single player narrative of the story. And that's one of the things I really don't like about this game compared to what we experienced in the first 3 games, where it's more of a linear story trying to tell the story of Marcus and Dom as they fight the locust horde on planet Sarah. This does take place on planet Sarah, and you get to experience a couple different unique locations, such as the Museum of Military Glory as well as Halvo Bay. There's even a really cool section where you get to fight on a silverback from the other couple of games in the franchise. And one of the really cool missions in this game that I did love was this mission where you were guarding this giant wall, and it resembles that of the Normandy invasions in World War II, which I thought was pretty cool. And it was like a tower defense mission. It was like one of the only couple of missions in the game where I'm like, okay, that tower defense mission, while I really don't like the repetitive nature of it, was really cool to see, and especially the fact that you get a whole different bunch of weapons and arsenals at your disposal to use against the locust horde is really cool. And I think that this game, while it does have a lot of annoying parts to it, like the tower defense missions, like the flashback sequences that really don't fit Gears of War, I think it's really cool to see a different side to the story that you otherwise wouldn't get to tell if it wasn't really a spin-off game in the franchise with Baird's character in the game. And I think that Baird as a character is just as cool as Marcus Phoenix or even Dom Santiago for that matter. You also get this cool character who is Cadet Sophia, and she's the newer character, the newer recruit who gives Baird the light mass bomb, and she's able to kind of help out the team in terms of the context of the story. You also get Cole that shows up in the Aftermath DLC like I mentioned before. There's a lot of really cool characters and one-liners and dialogue that happens throughout this game. The one-liners in this game are funny and hilarious just like they were in the other games of the franchise. It's a little bit more over the top in terms of the set pieces and the storytelling in this game compared to even that of the 3rd game of the franchise, but I think that that doesn't really change the fact that this is a Gears of War game. The fact that this is one of those games in the franchise that I think a lot of fans who have played the other 3 games in the Gears of War franchise should definitely play, especially in the context of Gears of War 1, 2, and 3, because this does take place after the events of Gears of War 3, and I think this was one of those stages where Epic Games wasn't really sure if they're going to make another couple of Gears of War games, or if they're going to branch off to a new company with the Coalition and make 4, 5, and eventually now 6. And I think that this was one of those in-between games that got them from point A to point B, and I think that this game, while it is a spin-off game in the franchise, it's definitely something worth experience if you are a Gears of War fan like myself. So while I don't love this game per se like I do 1 and 2, while I don't hate this game at all, it's definitely one of those games that's a little bit weaker in terms of the franchise. So I think that the other Gears of War games, while they are superior in terms of the storytelling, the narrative that's being given to them, I think that this game is definitely worth experiencing. So let me know in the comment section down below which Gears of War game you actually like. Did you like 1, 2, or 3 more? Did you like Gears of War Judgment? Did you hate Gears of War Judgment? I know when this came out, it was a little bit controversial in terms of Gears of War fans and whether or not they loved or hated this game. I really didn't get to play this game when it first came out, so I really can't comment too much about that whole experience of what it would be like when you originally played this game, but I think that experiencing this game now with some of the different and cooler missions that do pop up in this game occasionally, with the newer added abilities that do take place in this game, the fact is, does have your classic movement mechanics where you take cover and fight against cover with the touch of an A button or B button, and you kind of take cover and shoot from cover, is a really cool concept and something that I think has revolutionized gaming in general. So I think that with Gears of War Judgment being the 4th game in the franchise, canonically not necessarily in line with the 4th game in the franchise itself, because that did eventually come out, I think that you should definitely experience this for yourself and buy yourself a copy of this game, whether it's full price or if you're getting it from Gears of War Ultimate Edition. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and as always guys, rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I repeat, Omega Squad knocked out the Big Cedar. Comms back online. All units move out to the Museum of Military Glory. We'll take back this city block by block.
Lieutenant, you have to tell him what we're doing.
All right. Colonel Loomis, Lieutenant Baird here.
Lieutenant, what is your position?
Onyx Point. We've just activated the light mass, and we're about to...
Not another goddamn word, Lieutenant. That missile is sitting in that silo for a reason.
Colonel, you have no idea what you're up against.
I know exactly what I'm up against. The grub who killed a bunch of worthless Indies. I'd shake the bastard's hand if I could.
Then you and your men will die.
Lieutenant, arrest Private Paddock and remain on that rock. Actually, no. Cadet Hendrick, arrest Paddock and Lieutenant Baird if he resists you.
This is Omega 2. We're pinned down 2 blocks from the museum. We need an evac.
We're mobilizing, Sergeant. We can have a Raven to you in an hour.
We don't have an hour.
We could be there a whole lot sooner.
I'm gonna rescue Omega.
That's a coincidence. So am I.
done.